Imagine a world where the rarest, most coveted materials aren't harvested from animals or spun from fields, but brewed in vats, built strand by strand in sterile chambers by scientists in lab coats. Not grown under the sun, but inside bioreactors. Not sheared from sheep or pulled from silkworms, but born from DNA sequences, fermentation tanks, and petri dishes. This is not science fiction. This is the future of luxury, and it's unfolding right now, inside quiet labs around the world, labs that just a decade ago didn't exist. In these places, nature is being rewritten, not to mimic her, but to improve upon her. The next era of silk, leather, and cotton won't come from tradition. It will come from genetic code. For centuries, luxury fabrics have told the story of civilization. Silk was the secret of empires. Leather was a badge of prestige and power. Cotton transformed economies, shaped colonies, and defined class. These materials have long signaled wealth, taste, and exclusivity. But behind their sheen and texture lies an inconvenient truth. Our most luxurious textiles are often among the most exploitative and environmentally damaging. It can take up to 10,000 liters of water to produce just 1 kilogram of cotton. The global leather industry is responsible for extensive deforestation, methane emissions, and the use of toxic tanning chemicals like chromium. And traditional silk? It requires boiling tens of thousands of silkworms alive to preserve a single unbroken filament. For the fashion world to move forward without leaving devastation behind, something had to change. That change is being engineered literally. One of the first breakthroughs in this revolution came from a company based in California called Bolt Threads. Rather than farm silkworms, they turned to the microcosmic world of yeast. Using the tools of synthetic biology, Bolt scientists inserted spider silk DNA into yeast cells. When fermented in massive bioreactors, similar to those used in brewing beer, these cells produce spider silk proteins, which are then extracted, purified, and spun into a high-performance thread called microsilk. This fabric doesn't just rival traditional silk, it surpasses it. Microsilk is stronger than steel by weight, stretchier than nylon, and biodegradable. In 2017, renowned designer Stella McCartney partnered with Bolt Threads to unveil a prototype dress woven from this lab-grown silk. Though the garment was never sold, it made a bold statement. Future luxury would no longer depend on farms, fields, or animals. It would depend on code. Spider silk isn't the only protein being reimagined. Companies like AM Silk in Germany are also creating high-strength silk proteins through microbial fermentation, scaling their production for use in everything from running shoes to medical implants. The value proposition is clear. These lab-grown fibers can be made on demand, customized for tensile strength, breathability, or sheen, and produced without the land use or ethical concerns that plague traditional animal-derived fabrics. And while challenges remain in scaling production and reducing costs, progress has been rapid. What once cost thousands of dollars per meter is now on the brink of affordability, especially for high-end applications where exclusivity matters more than mass production. Meanwhile, another ancient luxury material is undergoing a radical transformation: leather. For centuries, leather has symbolized refinement, durability, and wealth, but it also represents one of the most environmentally intensive materials on Earth. The traditional tanning process is infamous for its toxic byproducts and the mistreatment of animals. But now, labs like MycoWorks and Bolt Threads have found a surprising alternative: mushrooms. More specifically, mycelium, the underground root structure of fungi. Grown in vertical farms under carefully controlled conditions, mycelium forms dense, foam-like mats that can be treated and tanned into a material nearly indistinguishable from calfskin. It's soft, pliable, breathable, and best of all, it requires zero animal input. Mycelium leather, known commercially as Milo, has already made its way onto the global stage. Stella McCartney once again led the charge, showcasing a handbag made entirely from mushroom leather at Paris Fashion Week. Adidas and Lululemon have also announced partnerships to integrate Milo into their product lines. What makes mushroom leather revolutionary isn't just that it's sustainable, it's that it's programmable. Unlike animal hides, which come in irregular shapes and require wasteful cutting, mycelium can be grown into molds customized for thickness, texture, and finish. This means less waste, faster production, and a more ethical product that still meets the standards of high fashion. But the revolution doesn't stop with leather and silk. Even the humble cotton plant is being re-engineered in labs. Traditional cotton farming is one of the most water and pesticide-intensive agricultural processes in the world. In response, startups like Colorifix and Gallian are developing genetically modified cotton that requires significant significantly less water and no chemical dyes. Using bacteria that can produce pigments naturally, these fibers can be grown in color, no dyeing, rinsing, or toxic runoff required. The result is a colored cotton that needs fewer resources, produces less waste, and retains its vibrancy far longer than traditional dyed fabrics. And because the dye is embedded in the fiber itself, it doesn't fade with time or wear. Elsewhere, other labs are pushing boundaries even further. At companies like Modern Meadow, scientists are creating leather-like materials entirely from collagen proteins grown via yeast and assembled molecule by molecule. In Europe, orange fiber is turning citrus peels into silk-like fabrics that are already being used by brands like Salvatore Ferragamo. Pinetex, a leather alternative made from pineapple leaf fibers, has already appeared in luxury sneakers and handbags. Bananatex, made from banana plant fibers, is being woven into minimalist bags and outerwear. And then there are the fermented fabrics, materials created by feeding bacteria with sugars or starches, which then grow into sheets of cellulose. These fabrics, when dried and finished, look and feel like traditional cloth but are entirely zero waste and biodegradable. One of the most fascinating trends in this space is the biodesign of intelligence into fabric. Scientists are now exploring ways to embed living organisms into clothing, like algae that photosynthesize or bacteria that respond to moisture. Imagine a dress that adjusts its breathability in real time, or a coat that heals itself from abrasions. While these technologies are still experimental, they're redefining what it means for a fabric to be alive. And then there's the issue of plastic pollution, something luxury fashion is beginning to address head-on. Companies like Parley for the Oceans and EcoAlf are collecting plastic waste from the oceans and converting it into high-performance yarns, which are being used by brands like Prada, Gucci, and Stella McCartney. These fabrics are luxurious, durable, and sustainable, turning a global crisis into an opportunity for design. The future of luxury fabrics is not just about replicating the past, it's about reimagining what materials can do. They can be softer, stronger, smarter, and more sustainable. They can carry history in their fibers, or they can be entirely new inventions, born not from tradition but from innovation. This shift isn't just a trend, it's a turning point. What we're witnessing is a complete rewiring of the luxury supply chain. Where once materials were measured by rarity, they are now measured by impact. Where once craftsmanship meant hands and needles, it now includes petri dishes and protein sequences. Where once the story of a luxury garment began with a farm or a field, it now begins with a lab. Inside these labs that don't exist in nature, a new kind of beauty is being born, one that is every bit as exquisite but infinitely more intelligent. The next time you run your fingers over silk or slip into leather boots, ask yourself, was this grown in a field or programmed in a lab? Because in the future of luxury, it may be both.